Welcome to our morning market update for June 18th. It's Thursday, second last day of the trading week. Thursday, June the 18th of 2018 still. We got a good update for you this morning. First, I'm going to turn around. Whoa, the camera's pretty close. We got a pretty good update for you this morning. In fact, a huge update. Huge. It's going to be huge. We're going to talk about a few things this morning, primarily the Fed's annual stress test, part two. And then we're going to get into a little bit of this Supreme Court position or vacancy that opened up. Very funny about that thing is we were talking about in the trading room yesterday. We're like, these guys are going to try to milk it as long as possible. They're not going to retire until the presidency's over. And then literally the same day they announce a retirement. So, boy, were we wrong. It's a good thing we're not political correspondents, right? And last but not least, Donald Trump and Putin are officially meeting. I'll tell you where, when, and what could be on the agenda in just a moment. All right, so let's get started with our trip around the world. Get that passport out. We visit Japan first. Japan is flat. Japan, if you want us to keep visiting you, you can't just be flat. Flat, though. Hong Kong up 0.5%. China down almost 1 percentage point. Markets are tumbling. Yesterday, someone commented this genius remark of, check out the ghost cities in China, buy gold. Very confusing statement. China's been weak all year, and they continue to be weak. And this is where the opportunity is for us to follow with the market outside of the United States, outside of North America, to see how it develops. Very interesting to see how this Russia and Donald Trump or Putin-Trump meeting goes. That could have a lot of implications for the relationship with China as well. Larry Kudlow yesterday said that Donald Trump is not softening his stance on China, and that really pressed equities lower. That started a really big sell-off. Right as we're getting ready to end the trading room, that news comes out, and Victorio, actually, one of our guys here, got short right on the news. He heard it and clicked the button. I pretty much heard the squawk, and I heard the click right away. I was like, Larry Kudlow announces Trump is not softening his stance on China. Click. It's probably that was the quickest short ever. Anywho, point I'm making is these trade war tensions are not over yet. They're just beginning. I think Donald Trump's grand vision, and this is what Larry said, not me, is to have tariff-free trade globally. That's what he's trying to accomplish in a little bit of a backwards way of doing it. But he's got a plan. He's going to carry it out. In Europe at midday, London's flat. Paris is down 0.3. Frankfurt's down 0.7%. Here in the United States, or over there in the United States across the pond, you can actually kind of see Buffalo, New York State over there. And it's not a good thing. Sorry, Brian. Just kidding, Brian. All right, so futures in the United States, Dow's up 0.3%, S&P's up 0.3%, Nasdaq's also 0.3% higher. So we're getting a little bit of momentum. I think that kind of faded, didn't it? Yeah, he's getting killed. Equities continue lower still overnight. They continue to sell off. Watch some of these support levels. I think we're going to head a little bit lower today one more time. But this is the 13th consecutive down day on the S&P 500, and that's significant. All right. It's actually a record. It's record-setting momentum. That may actually be on the Dow. Let me double check that in one moment. It is a Dow, yeah. Okay, it's a Dow. The Dow's down 13 consecutive days. The Dow's only 30 stocks, but it's been very weak, noticeably weaker than other markets. And there you have it. So Dow's weak. Nasdaq's been a little bit stronger. Russell's stronger, but they too are starting to fall off a cliff a little bit. I think we got more downside to come. I don't want to scare anybody. I think we're just getting started with this downside. I think this is just the beginning of what's to come. And not obviously in the next 4 days the market's going to collapse. I'm saying we're starting to transition a little bit to a flat to downside market. And guess what? That's okay. We've been bullish since 2009. All right. Initial jobless claims today came out at 227,000 versus 220 expected. 4-week average, pretty much in line with expectations. So nothing really surprising or shocking. A little bit more claims, but just 7,000. It's not that much more. GDP Q1 in the United States today, the final number came out at 2% versus 2.2 expected. A little bit weaker than expected. But you know what? By this time, we're starting to look at the preliminary GDP of next quarter. So this is delayed old news that nobody really cares about. That's why final GDP numbers are pretty irrelevant. All right. Bloomberg Consumer Comfort Index, 945, 1030 natural gas inventories. You bet you know what we're trading at. Fed's Bullard speech is coming up at 1045 this morning. Kansas City Fed Manufacturing Survey at 11. So we got quite a few prints in the news this morning. 30 billion 7-year note auction at 1 p.m. Money supply at 4:30 p.m. And today we have the Fed's annual bank stress test part 2. So this is the harder one to pass. This is when lenders find out whether or not they can boost their dividends and buybacks. So step number 1 is having enough cash in your capital and your reserve ratios to pass the test. All of them passed, despite the fact that Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs had trouble passing. Apparently, it was close, and that's an interesting insight that you guys could take away. That being said, now we find out what they could use with that cash and reserve requirement, whether they could boost buybacks and dividend paybacks or payouts. So that's going to be a very important event. That's going to be in the afternoon. If that's the case, these stocks will do buybacks, buying their own shares on the market. So that provides bullish support. Traders will front run them by trying to get long. So that could have a little bit of a rally and a reversal to this downside effect, at least temporarily. All right. Some concerns about Deutsche Bank and Wells Fargo not being able to pass the second round of these tests. It would be a surprise if they did not. Deutsche Bank, DB, is having quite a bit of trouble staying liquid. They're over leveraged, overexerted. You know what? Deutsche Bank is starting to sound and feel and look like Lehman Brothers. Do you guys remember Lehman Brothers? It's a bank that you can no longer get your deposit out of. Doesn't exist. Dow Jones, like we just said, goes on the longest losing streak consecutively, 13 days. Lucky number 13. Conspiracy theorists all around the world are rejoicing on number 13 today. 13 negative days in a row. That's a record. Supreme Court Justice, and we're going to leave it here. Anthony Kennedy's announced his retirement. That leaves open another seat on the Supreme Court for Donald Trump to nominate. So he's going to have a chance to put his touch on the Supreme Court once again. He said that he's going to pick from a previously announced list of 25 people. So there's not going to be any surprise positions or appointments to the role. But he's put out a list. Front runners are judges Thomas Hardiman and William Pryor. Those are the two guys that he's kind of pegged as the next to take over the Supreme Court seat as a judge. All right. I don't know when that's going to happen, but this decision has big implications for elections, midterms coming up in the United States. All right, that's November. Last but not least, Donald Trump and President Putin have scheduled officially a meeting for July 16th in Helsinki, Finland. And they're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff on their agenda. We don't have time to talk about it. I got to turn around. I had a whole bunch of notes, but we're not getting into all that. We got a lot of time before July 16th. All right, and July 16th is also a couple days before a very important event in the markets, July 21st. I'll tell you what it is around that time. And I'll be busy with the July 21st event more than I will be with the July 16th one. But anywho, the point I'm trying to make is there was some agreement from international powers between Trump and Putin to meet, which is good. That's good news if they're going to have joint talks. And then the China-U.S. situation is not getting any better soon. China is talking about having very strong retaliation measures shortly, and Donald Trump said he may back out of some of his threats, and then Larry Kudlow comes on and says, no, he's not. And then the market continues to tank. So that's put in simple terms. It sounds a little bit like a teenage battle. Sounds like a teenage love triangle. Lucy, you said you love me. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow at 9 a.m. I don't know where that last part came out of. Sometimes these things just come to me and I just express them. You know, I'll give you one tidbit about me. I'm transparent. You never have to know what I'm wondering. I say it. I'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Manage your risk. Usually I have a little bit of a gut feel of where this thing's going to go. This morning, I got to be honest with you, I have no freaking clue where we're going. We spent a lot of time to the downside, so I would venture out to try the short rallies early on, and then around 10 a.m. to 10:30 around the reversal. It's a typical reversal point around that time. You can start to look to buy because I think some of this downside momentum will fade upwards between 10:30 and about 2, and then 2 they'll start to hammer this thing lower into the close. All right, remember, bearish markets open strong and close weak. You heard it here first. Take care. Goodbye. Manage your risk. See you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Over and out. I'm about to spin around in my patented chair spin. Ciao. Vic, wake up, buddy. You got work to do. All right. Thanks, Marky. All right, guys. Let's talk